This is an update edition of Your Daily Detroit, recorded on Monday, March 18th, 2019. I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Sven Gustafson. We're sharing what's to know and where to go in Metro Detroit from between 6 and 7 mile roads right here in Detroit's beautiful University District.
And thank you for asking, but we do not have any hamster, chinchilla, or guinea pig supplies to sell you. An actual request from our online contact form today.
Though, Jer, maybe we should consider diversifying. Anyway, let's get right into the show, shall we? Federal prosecutors have filed charges against a former high-ranking United Auto Workers official who oversaw the union's Fiat Chrysler department. Norwood Jewell faces charges of conspiracy to violate federal labor laws and accepting improper payments. He's the highest-ranking former UAW official charged so far in a sweeping investigation into illegal payoffs to top UAW officials. Jewell was vice president and the most senior official in the UAW's Chrysler department from 2014 until his retirement last year. Prosecutors say he spent or approved thousands of dollars for steak dinners in Detroit and Palm Springs, California. The money allegedly came from Fiat Chrysler and was supposed to pay for training hourly plant workers. 7 other former UAW officials have been sentenced so far in the investigation. Prosecutors allege that Fiat Chrysler executives bought off top union leadership to keep them happy. In a statement, the UAW says it's implemented a number of reforms and new policies to prevent misuse of funds in the future, and it'll continue to review its practices to root out any lax financial controls.
President Trump went on a Twitter tirade Sunday, and he managed to save a few of his 30 tweets or retweets for General Motors and its CEO, Mary Barra. Trump said he spoke with Barra about the company's decision to close the GM plant in Lordstown, Ohio, saying he asked her to sell it to another company that will reopen it or, quote, do something quickly. He said GM had, quote, let our country down. The last Chevrolet Cruze rolled off the line at Lordstown earlier this month. It's one of 5 plants, including the Detroit Hamtramck assembly plant, that GM plans to close, barring a decision to allocate new products for them. GM says it so far has placed more than 1,000 workers from the affected plants at other locations that are hiring, with opportunities for virtually all affected employees. Barra has said GM expects to have 2,700 openings by early 2020 at other plants, but those plants in many cases are hundreds of miles away. Right here, Sven, I'd also note that GM's facing this interesting thing where they've got one part of their business where demand and profit really isn't there, but they can't build trucks fast enough.
That's right. Like a lot of other plants, and they're getting rid of a lot of those sedans. The Cruze is being discontinued. The Chevy Volt, a number of other ones. So it'll be interesting to see how many workers take. You know, we reported about Flint Assembly, where they build heavy duty versions of some of their pickups, hiring 1,000 workers. But these are big choices for, Lordstown's a long way from Flint, frankly, and a lot of those people have families and spouses and so forth. So tough decision. Recent report by the St. Louis Dispatch is throwing cold water on the idea of a Major League Soccer team coming to Detroit. A would-be ownership group made up of Pistons owner Tom Gores and Quicken Loans founder Dan Gilbert want an MLS team in Detroit. Their plan is to put that team in Ford Field. But MLS has said all along they want a soccer-specific outdoor stadium. In an interview with the Dispatch, and we'll link to it in the show notes, MLS Commissioner Don Garber said, quote, we think that in order for us to be successful in that city, we need a soccer-specific stadium, and the options that we're presented with today are only at Ford Field, end quote. Garber also said they've been in regular conversations with the would-be owners and that Detroit is an important market for the league. But he says the MLS still struggles with Detroit's stadium plan.
So there's a bunch of different angles that one could pull at with this topic, but the one I'll specifically think about is I don't think there's much will, at least for any taxpayer money, towards any kind of soccer entertainment complex right now. I feel like people are really burnt out on that one.
Detroit was considered one of the front runners to land a new MLS franchise back when Gores and Gilbert were saying, we're going to build this new stadium over on the former Wayne County jail site.
The fail jail.
Fail jail, yeah. They went away from that and went to Ford Field. The plan for that never advanced as far as any numbers behind it, concrete numbers anyways, I'm aware. I think it's a good point, Jared. They may be looking across town at certain Little Caesars Arena in the district Detroit, which we've talked about, and seen all the public backlash about the tax subsidies offered for that, and maybe taking a clue from that.
Remember that whole thing about that giant golden ring in the middle of M59? The one that's referred to by many as the golden butthole? Well, if you couldn't guess, we're about to get more absurd. The city of Sterling Heights announced today a naming contest for what they're calling the Golden Corridor Icon, and offering a ton of gift cards to chains with stores in the area, as much as $1,000 total for the first place winner of the contest. There are prizes for second and third place as well. And if you're the winner, you'll also get a one-night stay at Comfort Inn Utica. Yes, dear friends, with soaring views of the multitude of lanes that is the intersection of Hall Road and Van Dyke, the Comfort Inn Utica gives you a bird's eye view of the butthole. In order to win the naming contest, one needs to, quote, keep it clean. We'll have a link to enter in the show notes. Sven, what do you think about this fabulous group of prizes?
Very, very tempting. I got Utica, Michigan up on Google Maps here, and I'm going to say it's going to be a tough choice between Dave & Buster's or Applebee's for dinner with my wife, but definitely hitting up the Tim Hortons for breakfast. No, I joke. Actually, there's something called Tivoli's wood-fired oven pizzeria that actually legitimately looks pretty interesting. In all seriousness, I think they've kind of lost the battle on this one already.
Yeah, this is kind of like when... was it Pine Knob became DTE Energy Music Theater or whatever?
Sure.
It's still Pine Knob.
But this is more, I mean, everybody now is going to remember that sculpture for its crude name, right? I mean, I mentioned to you guys, I was up there a couple weeks ago. I drove past it for the first time. It was nighttime. It was lit up. It's not a bad looking sculpture. It's just when they decided to give it the name, the Golden Corridor, that it acquired all kinds of unsavory associations that I don't think maybe they were aware of or whatever. But I think that ship has sort of sailed already.
Daily Detroit is brought to you by people like you, our Patreon supporters. Thanks so much for everyone who's already signed up. And if you want to support what we're doing, join us at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
In real estate news, a former school that was converted to lofts on Detroit's east side is now holding a series of open houses. It's at 1454 Townsend Street. That's one block east of Grand Boulevard and a couple blocks north of Jefferson. The condo development is called St. Charles Residences. Prices range from $370,000 for less than 1,000 square feet to $850,000 for a 3-bedroom that's about 1,700 square feet. We covered the construction of this place, which is in the Island View neighborhood, earlier on Daily Detroit. The finishes look positively luxurious. Parking spaces will set you back an extra $20,000. And yes, some of the units are already sold. Open houses run on weekends through June or until they're all sold. You can find out more at stcharlesdetroit.com. That's SAINT Charles.Detroit.com. We'll put a link in the show notes. Jared, what do you think?
Man, this neighborhood, although it's near an area that's up and coming, I'm just going to give you a little heads up that you will have empty lots and like a vacant building is your neighbor down the street. Like, I totally get where they're going with this, but I wonder if this is pushing it a little too much. That's a lot of money. And to be clear, I would totally live in that neighborhood, but 800, like between this kind of money, like anywhere in this range, that's a ton of money.
Sign of the times.
If you're looking for 3.5 feet of bacon with your pizza, look no further. In an update to our ongoing Detroit Pizza Watch, Little Caesars is trying yet another thing to get you in the door. This time, they're bringing back their bacon-wrapped deep dish pizza. That's right, the yard plus of bacon wraps around the crust of a square, what they're calling Detroit-style deep dish pizza. It's available through the Little Caesars app or to order online. Starting March 21st, the bacon wrap pie will be available to walk-in customers from 4 to 8 p.m. and anytime if you order ahead of time.
And just to further hammer home the concept, here's the sound of bacon frying in a pan. If you happen to ride the bus, like some of us here at Daily Detroit sometimes do, today is Transit Driver Appreciation Day. To celebrate, SMART, the suburban bus system, has teamed up with Chicken Shack. They'll distribute more than 500 $5 gift cards to their bus drivers, along with a bunch of thank you cards from riders, which is nice. So we're going to try a new thing here on Daily Detroit. This is Jer's brainchild from the weekend. Dangerous things happen when we leave him alone. Often we go around town, we see interesting or cool places. So we're each of us going to sit down and highlight a couple interesting things from now and then that we see around town. So joining us in the studio is Cheyenne Nocerini. Cheyenne, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Fantastic. So ladies first, Cheyenne, tell us about your trip to Birmingham, I guess.
Yes, I was in downtown Birmingham to check out a new children's clothing store called Petite Cabane. And it's this really cute little boutique. And they sell super cute clothes from infant all the way up to, I think, 8 years old. And the clothes are from around the world. They're organic and sourced fairly and super adorable.
We should mention, Cheyenne, that you're the mother of a young. How old is your kid?
He is 4.5 now.
Yeah.
But they also have some really cute gift items. They have shoes. They have adorable bicycles. And my favorite thing was a rolling trunk suitcase in like different pastel colors. It was adorable. Like I could totally see Justin like traveling down, pulling this little like trunk behind him. The one thing I do want to point out is that it's pretty pricey.
It's downtown Birmingham.
It is downtown Birmingham. So they're in the right market for this, but it's going to be one of those places where you go for a special baby shower gift or maybe a birthday gift. Go check it out. It's right next to Social Kitchen in downtown Birmingham on Maple.
All right, great. Thanks, Cheyenne. Next up is Jer, who, as according to your Instagram feed, you were at the Lexus Velodrome this weekend.
I did, and I ran a poll if I had a beard that was good enough for bicycling media, and the overwhelming answer was yes.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. But I was at the Velodrome because I'm into bikes, and I am much more of a solo cup in a cup holder type of bicyclist than like the wear spandex and go 50 miles. Like I can go 10, 20 miles, but I usually have some beverage with me. But I did the tour. I checked it out. These people are amazing athletes. Watched the races. I had a lot of fun. So in case you didn't know, there is a velodrome called the Lexus Velodrome at Mac and I-75. And it kind of looks like one of those giant golfing domes from the outside. It's one of those places that's held up by pressurized air. So literally, and this was something that I found out when I took the tour, if you open two of the doors at once, things will just start sucking out the door. Like planters and everything, weights will just start flying out the door.
I'd almost like to see that happen.
I was the 15-year-old in me was so tempted to just do it, but I knew that I shouldn't. Anyway, the three things about this place is that it's not just a velodrome, but a running track, a yoga studio, and a couple other things in there. So there's like a 1,300, something like that square foot yoga studio in there. There was weightlifting that I know that the Detroit police sometimes use. They had both walking and running tracks. I liked it. It was a fun experience. And these bicyclists are insanely fast. Like I could never go this speed.
And very importantly, you can drink there.
Yes, you can drink there. Although after a couple drinks, the banks in the oval that are like 50 degrees, they really wig you out because you go up
50 degrees as an angle, not temperature.
Correct, as an angle, because you can go up and not only is there seating in the middle, but you can go up to the rails and kind of see on the outside of this like big oval track, and you look straight down at those curves. I posted a couple pics. It's insane.
How does it compare with sitting in the upper concourse of Little Caesars Arena looking down at the stadium floor?
Similarly. Very similar. The bar had a pun, which I'm sure you know I appreciate, and everyone around me probably will groan. It was called the Spoke Easy. So bike spoke, speak easy.
I get it.
I enjoyed it. That said, I do have a small gripe and what was a really fun time. These folks need a scoreboard. So with like this fancy bicycle racing, I didn't know this when I got there. I guess whoever wins, like who comes in first isn't like in the race isn't actually who wins. I guess
I saw that.
Points and they do laps and all these things, which is fine if you're going to do fancy rules. But like for me, with a couple drinks in my hand, I lost everybody. I was just like, wee, fast. Because I can't. I need a scoreboard to be like, okay, I know where I'm at. Otherwise, I'm just rooting for the guy in the front. And then another thing I learned, which I thought was pretty cool, the old Olympia Arena where the Red Wings used to play over there on Grand River near McGraw, that was originally built, apparently, as a velodrome because I guess bike racing was bigger than hockey back in the day. How crazy.
Interesting. Did not know that.
Well, me and Shy have had our turns, but you got to go to a part of town that I enjoy greatly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always, frankly, kind of a novelty when I get let out loose on the town. It doesn't happen as often as it used to. But my offering is kind of a twofer. I guess, you could take it as I think it would make a great date night suggestion. For example, I met up some old friends. We had dinner down in Southwest Detroit at Taqueria El Rey, right on Verner. Fantastic place, cash only. They have terrific tacos, very authentic. This is not, like a Tex-Mex place or, like watered down Americanized Mexican food. It's inexpensive, but really, really good food. Afterward, and they have a full bar there too, I should mention that. Right afterward, we exited, took a left turn and walked not even a half a block over to Mutiny, which is the tiki bar right there on Verner, run by the Detroit Optimist Society, Honest John's, the Peterborough, Wright and Company, etc. Fun place. It's very inconspicuous. There's a flag that hangs that says M on it, and it's got a picture of like what looks like a knight's hand with a sword sticking out of the water. That's the only signage really. So easy place to miss. But you walk inside and it is a full bore tiki bar. It's got a thatch palm bar overhanging the bar. There's netting hanging from the ceiling, Christmas lights all over the place. There's like just weird random things. There's like a life-size hammerhead shark hanging from the ceiling. And they serve all the drinks. You get a drink menu. They serve all the drinks in these crazy tiki mugs, that look like tiki totem pole things and everything. There's lots of pyrotechnics. They light sprigs of rosemary and cinnamon bark on fire, and they sprinkle cinnamon over an open flame so it looks like sparks and everything. Lots of fun. Apparently it's BYO food. Personally, I don't know what kind of food goes well with tiki drinks, but hey, have at it. But a lot of fun, great experience, and you can hit both of those places within about 50 steps of each other, so you don't have to drive.
Co-sign on those tacos. They are amazing, but I will tell you what goes with tiki drinks, and I learned this in Maui.
Okay.
Spam.
Bring your cans of Spam to the Mutiny.
You know what? I might just do that.
Sounds disgusting. With that, I'm Sven Gustafson.
And I'm Jairus Days. Take care of each other, and we'll see you with a can of Spam around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.